You think networks expand forever. They don't. Every network compresses. The larger it becomes, the more movement depends on fewer paths. You think connectivity distributes dependency. It doesn't. Connectivity concentrates it. This is ACHRONIC, a long-form documentary series about power, geography, and time. Not events, not heroes, not chronology, structures that outlast empires. Networks appear open, distributed, flexible, expansive. Every connection seems to increase possibility. Every new route appears to increase freedom. Every new node appears to increase resilience. But growth changes networks, because expansion creates concentration. The larger a network becomes, the more movement begins favoring specific paths. Not because those paths were designed to dominate, because movement rewards efficiency. The fastest routes receive more movement. The most reliable routes receive more movement. The most connected nodes receive more movement. And once movement begins concentrating, the structure itself begins changing. At first, this concentration appears beneficial. Coordination becomes easier. Communication becomes faster. Resources move more efficiently. The network appears stronger. But underneath that strength, compression has already begun. Because networks do not grow evenly. Some paths become essential. Others become secondary. Some nodes become critical. Others become peripheral. Over time, the network starts organizing itself around its most efficient routes. This is where perception fails. Because networks still appear distributed. The map remains full of connections. The structure remains expansive. The movement remains active. But fewer and fewer paths actually matter. The network still looks broad. The dependency underneath it becomes narrow. This is why large networks often become more fragile as they grow. Not because growth creates weakness, because growth creates concentration. The larger the network becomes, the more movement accumulates through specific corridors. The more movement accumulates, the more dependency accumulates. And wherever dependency accumulates, compression follows. At first, compression improves performance. Movement accelerates. Coordination accelerates. Alignment accelerates. The structure becomes increasingly efficient. But efficiency creates hierarchy. Some routes become indispensable. Some nodes become unavoidable. Some connections become impossible to replace. This creates a hidden asymmetry. The network appears distributed. Its function becomes concentrated. Because most movement no longer depends on the entire network. It depends on specific portions of it. Over time, entire systems begin organizing themselves around those critical paths. Infrastructure follows them. Coordination follows them. Dependency follows them. And eventually, control follows them too. Because compression does not only change movement, it changes power. The routes carrying the most movement begin shaping the behavior of the entire structure. Not because they control the network, because the network becomes dependent on them. This creates a second form of compression. Behavioral compression. The structure begins adapting itself to protect the paths it cannot afford to lose. Resources concentrate there. Maintenance concentrates there. Attention concentrates there. And once enough concentration accumulates, the network becomes increasingly difficult to reorganize. Not because alternatives disappeared, because alternatives stopped mattering. This is how large networks gradually lose flexibility. The structure remains connected, but adaptation becomes harder. The structure remains expansive, But movement becomes increasingly directional. The structure remains distributed, but dependency becomes increasingly concentrated. The map still shows countless connections, but most of the system now relies on only a few of them. This is why disruption often spreads rapidly through large networks. The network still appears resilient, but resilience has already become unevenly distributed. Over time, this imbalance continues growing. Movement concentrates, dependency concentrates, coordination concentrates, and eventually, the network begins functioning through a surprisingly small number of critical paths. This is not failure. It is a consequence of scale. Because scale rewards concentration. Concentration rewards efficiency, and efficiency rewards compression. This is why every network compresses, not because networks stop expanding, because expansion itself creates hierarchy. And wherever hierarchy accumulates, movement narrows, dependency narrows, control narrows, until entire systems begin depending on paths far smaller than the networks surrounding them. Quietly, progressively, structurally, because every network eventually becomes more concentrated than it appears.